Making friends with the wasps. The long, slow work of mending. When life feels like chaos. I'm thankful every day for the privilege of living and working on this farm, but even more so in the seasons when the rest of my life feels like chaos. My father has been very sick for a long time, but he's been trapped in a cycle of hospitalization since last November, and it all came to a head this week. When not in the hospital, he lives in rehab centers. Some days he's able to hold a conversation, and other days he's not. My mother lives at the farm and puts up with me every day. She and I didn't spend a lot of time together when I was young, and we've always been more like siblings than parent and child. My relationship with her has deepened through our forced roommate situation, and she is a massive help to me, from running the farm to sorting through years of my father's unopened mail and everything in between. She speaks animal more than human, so the farm is an ideal backdrop for her brilliant magic. She's also an uncanny good reader of people, though she would prefer a book and a border collie. I was close to my father until I moved away for college, and like his current slow descent into an internal world where I cannot reach him, he drifted further and further away from me, both physically and emotionally. As a kid, most of my friends thought my mother was dead because she was never mentioned. To this day, people are shocked to find that she is alive and well and funny as hell, and that she lives with me. Then she becomes their favorite person. The myth of my father traveled in reverse. People assume he lives far away or that he's deceased now, but he has always been less than 30 minutes away, if not closer, most of my adult life. He just withdrew from my life, from his life, and created thicker and thicker walls to protect him from the grief of living. The ridiculous thing about grief, though, is that it travels through walls. There aren't prisons strong enough to keep us safe from it. The myth of the healthy horse. Over the years, many people have worried about my tendency to let people into my life, or the way I let people back in after mishaps. Maybe that's a problem for me, but I've had a front row seat to what happens when you don't let people in. I see that in this long game of living, accepting the wreckage of lost money and faith and trust in bringing people into your life is often filled with fewer casualties than pushing them away. Vulnerability is a long-term investment, is risky as hell, but it pays heaps of dividends. The farm is vulnerability embodied, and not just because my work is based on humans and horses allowing themselves to be raw. It's vulnerable because it's old wood exposed to the elements, ringed in fences that are always breaking, and the true fact that horses get sick all the time for no reason. Horses are inexplicably fragile to be so stinking big. Anyone who lives their days with horses shakes their head when they hear the phrase, healthy as a horse, because they're not. Whoever coined that historically viral quip must have never met an actual horse. My career and life have been one continuous calling of mending and repair. I traced the threads of it while I was caught up in my head all week, worrying about my father and doing what I could from the sidelines. I started thinking about repair, the vocation of it, and why this matters. Stable Roots is where I share stories about horses, resilience, and the life I've built from both. I write weekly about connection, healing, and the messy, beautiful business of showing up. You can subscribe for free and follow along, but a paid subscription goes even further by directly supporting the farm, the horses, and the work we do here every day. However you choose to be a part of this community, I'm just grateful that you're here. Wasps don't sting him. Christopher has never been stung by a bee. Like me, Christopher comes from a complicated family structure and has his own share of woes involved with his late father's estate. But unlike me, he doesn't complain about what he has to do, or be, or to fix. He just faces whatever's in front of him and stays open to new ideas. I want to be more like Christopher when I grow up. We've centralized a farm to-do list for Christopher that's evolved from word of mouth to pieces of paper to a dry erase board on the fridge. Our farm boy grocery list that nourishes the barn. Christopher is a structural mechanic who fixes airplanes. I don't take for granted that I'm the reason he's become a farmer, but we give him no end of problems to solve with his brilliant mind. A common item on Christopher's to-do list is remove the wasp's nest from the mailbox, the stall door, the porch, the roof, because wasps and bees just don't sting him. He tells me how they loved his little brother, Marcus, stinging him all the time. I wish I'd had a chance to meet Marcus, but I'm pretty sure his ghost follows Christopher around. A mutual energy of safety. I decided to try Christopher's way of cooperating with the bees when wasps were as prevalent as horses last week. The first time, one lighted on a camper's water bottle, and I grabbed a pencil and invited the wasp to rest on it instead. It worked. The wasp walked right onto the pencil, and I deposited him safely in the woods. The second time, a wasp landed on someone's shoulder and slowly made its way towards their long, curly hair. We have a rule on the farm that if you notice an insect on someone, you take care of it before you tell the person what's happening. I grabbed the nearest thing, a pair of sunglasses, and I invited the wasp to maneuver onto the glasses instead of getting lost in the person's hair. It worked. This reminded me of J. Allen Boone in his book, Kinship with All Life, where he talks about befriending a fly. Later, he followed me into the living room like a tiny aerial dog, and while I worked at my desk, he entertained himself nearby. Whenever I would pause, extend my finger in his direction, and invite him to come aboard, he would always do so, and usually in the most artful way, invite me to stroke his wings. At 7 o'clock every morning thereafter, and for as long as he was part of the earth scene, he would be waiting for me on the shaving mirror, and for the rest of the day, we would be practically inseparable. The blueberries ripen in late June, and we pick them in batches nearing July 4th. I'm usually hesitant and careful as I share the bushes with the wasps that burrow into the ripened fruit for a snack. This time, bolstered by a week of successfully not pissing the wasps off, I stated my intention clearly to the shrubs and let the wasps know that there were more than enough berries to share. Reaching in and around the stems as the wasps gorged themselves, I didn't upset them. They didn't move. I filled my bags with berries, and I was amazed at how simple it could be to create a mutual energy of safety. The idle tractor. The amount of time that I spend worrying about things instead of actually doing them is astonishing. Like if I cranked the big orange tractor and I left it idling until the fuel tank was empty. In short, I'm an idle tractor. So when my mind is spinning in circles and I don't know which steps to take next, I hop on the tractor and start mowing the big grass field that lines the drive at the entrance to the farm. This field doubles as the barn's cemetery, and as the oversized graves settle into the ground, some sink, like Matilda's resting spot that's now a cavern with a huge water oak growing from her bones, or the recent spots for Billy and Chew, level and interspersed with wildflowers we seeded last year when the dirt was fresh. Teo's grave lies in the corner where the cedars meet the woods, the long grass speckled with poppies. Duchess rests near the red, rusted gate. I made one pass around the perimeter, marveling at the smooth path behind the mower. The field is quite hilly, and I have to stay conscious of the tractor's tilt as I back into tight angles and ease into the grades. As I turned my head to look back into the space between two blueberry bushes, I noticed a wasp sitting on my shoulder, right where it met my back. I could see it just out of the corner of my eye. The loose button-up that I'd worn to keep my skin from the sun was hard to remove where I sat on the tractor, the roll bar near my elbow, but I was also afraid to maneuver my body in such a tight space when I might need some room to flail away from the stinger. I thought about my conversation with the wasps the previous week and how they listened when I plainly stated my intentions. I slowed the mower blades and eased the tractor brake into park. I tiptoed down the step to the ground and gently removed my shirt. I placed it on the grass. The wasp held on, and I couldn't decide what to do next. If I shook the shirt, it might worry the wasp. And what if I thought the wasp was gone, but it had burrowed into my inside-out shirt sleeve? "I don't want to hurt you," I said. "Can you find another place to rest, please?" The wasp flew away. Could it really be that simple? Field notes on mending. I mowed the field in record time. I like to see straight lines forming where there used to be chaos. Mowing is an act of witnessing the contrast between what is overgrown versus what is tended. I wish the work of mending could be as clear, but it doesn't leave crisp borders or clean tracks. Most of the time, it leaves me tired and wondering if I made any difference at all. But I'm starting to see that mending is less about fixing what's broken and more about staying in relationship with others, ourselves, the earth, despite the chaos and frayed edges. Mending is an ongoing agreement to return, to listen, to say something better, to give more room, and invite safety, like a pencil offered to a wasp, even when I'm scared of being stung. I've spent so much of my life trying to undo what others couldn't finish. I thought my job was to clean up emotional residue and mend silences, trying to patch old holes that needed to stay ripped. It's tempting to think of it as noble work, like I'm the sensitive one doing the stitching, but it's really more practical than that. Mending is how you stay close to what matters. It's how you don't let bitterness calcify into a way of life. The wasps show me that just because something looks like danger, it doesn't have to inflict violence. They remind me that clear intentions paired with gentleness can actually change outcomes. That's what I want to remember about all of this. My father's slow withdrawal, my mother's uncanny gifts, the farm's open wounds, and my own tired vulnerability. The real work is about staying in conversation, not forever and not unconditionally, but long enough to make space for a new understanding to emerge. We actually might be safer than we think. And the world, like the unkempt blueberry bushes in the upper field, keeps offering enough fruit for us to share. Love, Kim.